Hey YouTube, Lawler here. As always, EWC is wrapped up, and because of that, we saw a bunch of different competition, and it's made us change our opinion on who is the best in the world. And in today's video, I'm going to express exactly that. Heading into the World Championship, I'm going to give you guys my top 10, as well as kind of discuss some teams to keep your eye on, just because I think ultimately when looking at all of these teams, it's difficult. We have seen different results, and we've seen different teams perform in different events. It is not an easy one-size-fits-all, but there is definitely some favorites, as I allude to in every video, that I would pick 9 out of 10 times over the others. So today's video, we're going to do exactly that. As always, if you guys do enjoy the content, drop a like, as well as hit subscribe, turn on notifications, helps me out immensely, as well as let me know your own top 10 in the comments. Always interesting hearing your guys' opinions. First things first, we're going to start with honorable mention and then work our way up. Again, if you guys aren't familiar with my power rankings, the way I do these, I mentally like place them based on how I think they would get in a tournament. I've said it numerous times. Once you get quarterfinals, it's a coin flip. Who's feeling the best on the day, who's really vibing, can go and take it. But if you're making top 8 conversation, you definitely have the potential to go and win the whole thing. If we're talking a 2-3 Swiss team, I would not be shocked to see them concede against a team that then pushes into the top 8. Again, anybody who is like one tier by each other, expect it, in my opinion, to be a very competitive match. So first one, and I've had some struggles with the bottom like 4 or 5 just because I don't know how I feel about it entirely, but we are going with Space Station Gaming. Although showing finally that they are trending in a positive direction, it's been one time. I want to see Space Station do it again. I saw them go and start slow, have probably the most unfortunate situation that we saw all weekend, with a massive delay, a lot of tech pauses, a lot of tech issues, jet lag, this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, we're not talking about that. What I am talking about is they have finally, based upon what Xperia has talked, figured out what it seems like to be their core issue, which is, hey, we've got to stay motivated. We've got to make sure that we inspire each other. We got to make sure we're fist bumping and cheering each other on and all this kind of stuff. Because it's not a mechanical issue. It's not a mental issue. Like, we feel confident. It's just our energy is low. And my hope is that if that is the case, when they are playing, you know, not a crazy travel schedule or anything like that, they're able to settle in. I'm sure they're going to boot camp early to Lyon and stuff as well. Hopefully they're very comfortable, and that allows them to have bigger heights. They do, for the first time, finally make a top 8, which is something they've been trying to do desperately for a while. Unfortunately for them, they did get paired up against what is arguably one of the best teams in the world in Team Falcons. That being said, while it was a 4-1 series, it was close. Falcons is just lethal. That is not, once you finally start finding a groove, not the first team you want to be tested by. Good exposure, good experience, but Space Station still needs to prove to me that they are capable before I start bumping them up a little bit. At number 10, and these are the ones that I have difficulties with, but I'll try to explain my reasoning behind them. It's going to be Team Secret. Team Secret I have dropping, even though their results have been consistent. Top 6 and a top 8 is no slouch. I think that's pretty important. And I'm actually going to put the other team that is right above them and try to provide context to it, because some people may be like, that feels weird. Furia is in the group of death. Furia is going up against Ultimates, GK, and potentially Falcons. While Team Secret is going up against Wildcard, Gen G, and Dignitas. Secret did put up a good fight against Gen G, conceding to them the second time, and then they are barely beating Wildcard. In a Game 5, it's real close. Ultimates against Furia swept them and held them relatively competitive. Like, Furia did put up a pretty good fight against Ultimates. GK held them to 1 goal. So I have, obviously, Furia dropping significantly. -3 spots is no joke, comparing it to the previous one. But I still think in a head-to-head, Furia's beaten Team Secret. I don't know if it's a familiarity thing or what, but I do think Furia is the better team. If I look at the entire field, who are you playing? Are you more likely to beat teams, or are you less likely to beat teams from the entire selection? And I do think Furia would normally beat more teams than Team Secret would. That being said, Team Secret is starting to become a favorite. I think Team Secret is really finding their form on LAN. I think they are very comfortable in those high-pressure environments. But I have a feeling that if I put Team Secret in Group C with Falcons, GK, and Ultimates, they would have looked even worse than Furia did. Just my opinion of things. That being said, I think some credit is being given. The only thing I feel really icky about in this list is that Secret is moving down in the rankings. That's not necessarily their fault. So that is the only thing. I just have other teams that were lower moving ahead of them, and that's why they have to bump down. Realistically, Team Secret's kind of staying the same. It's just I have a team that was below them moving up. Up next, I do have a team dropping a little bit. It is Twisted Minds. Twisted Minds is a tough one for me as well, because they do have a good fight in them. Beat TSM, rightfully so, in a 3-0. That's expected. TSM to me is one of the worst out of all of the groupings. To me, they are in the bottom 3 without a doubt in the top 16. Twisted Minds goes up against Vitality, a team that they've been relatively competitive against, and they score 4 goals. They get shut out in one of their games. It was close, but Vitality basically did business there. And credit to Vitality finally starting to look like them old selves. But Twisted Minds, to me, had some difficulty of competing to the degree that they normally do. Even more so conceding to Space Station. I was surprised by that. I expected Twisted Minds probably to win that series because of how they've performed previously. But they are human. And that is something that we all forget about, is while yes, consistency is what we all strive for, people do have off days, off series. It is tough to be a high-level team performing at that level over the course of 4 or 5 days. You know, it is not easy. So I do have Twisted Minds dropping down a bit. Similar regard as I have another team moving ahead of them. It's why the reasoning is what it is. I would argue that I could probably put Twisted Minds above Ultimates, who I do have above them. I wouldn't be opposed to keeping these the same. But I do think Ultimates on LAN has done a pretty good job. While they aren't getting the same level of victories that I think they should be, I've seen their highs be there, and I show them being competitive against every team they compete against. Like, Falcons swept them, but it was actually a pretty close series. Like, they were fast, they were aggressive. It's just Falcons slowly whittles you down. I do think Ultimates is starting to, and maybe it's because I underrated them earlier. I didn't buy into the whole, like, we placed top 2 thing. I wanted to see it again. I think Ultimates is competitive. I think they're a great, like, middle of the pack, somewhere in between. It's just I'm not too keen on NA right now, rightfully so. So I have them on the low mid side. I think if Ultimates and Twisted Minds played each other, that's a very good series. I don't know who's going to win it. Is Nalpo going to take over? Is FK going to take over? I think there's some similarity. I probably go Ultimates. In a best of 5, I probably go Twisted Minds. I think Nalpo just, he shocks you. And the reason why I do have them just slightly below is because of who is above them, and I don't think this should be a surprise to anybody. GK, I'm moving up quite a bit. I did have them as an honorable mention just because they do play that dark horse, like, we're just happy to be here type mentality. And this is something I talked about in yesterday's video. I think GK really takes advantage of the fact that people do not expect them to go and win the whole thing. And I'm concerned now that people know they are no longer an underdog, and their mentality and their expectation is no longer an underdog after taking second place. I don't know if that's going to hurt them or not. What I do know is Archie continues to be incredible on defense and offense. Archie is really showing up on LAN. Joyo's creativity has definitely been there. And if Oli, like, and I'm going to keep saying this, and I hate to put all the pressure on him, but Oli needs to be the difference maker for that team. When Oli is on, GK is a different breed. When Oli feels lost, when he's not impactful on the play, GK looks terrible. So it is a lot on the shoulders. I know what I'm getting out of Archie on his defense. I know what I'm getting out of Joyo and his creativity and his shots and what he can do on ball. It is Oli, in my opinion, he is the make or break for that team. And it's been working out. So I do have GK just below mid. I think they are a team that I want to avoid at all costs because I know what they're capable of. They are terrifying. You put this team in top 8 and I go, this is probably one of the harder brackets that we're going to have to play out of all the teams that are ranked 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, I have them bumping down a little bit. It's energy. I put a lot of weight into because these are the series that they have to be winning. Them, like, Vitality has their number. I think that's just a familiarity thing. I talk about it being El Clasico. But Energy is the only team I think that Energy and K-Corp was close. It went to game 5. It was almost a reverse sweep. I don't think anybody else held a candle. Secret got smoked. Falcons struggled. GK struggled. It almost wasn't close. It was almost a sweep and a convincing one. But NRG puts up a fight, and I don't know any other team that's doing that. So I do still have a lot of praise for Energy, but them losing against teams like Vitality that have faltered, I think if Energy plays anybody else, if they play Space Station, Secret, Dignitas, GK, maybe even Falcons. Different situation. Probably not Falcons with the way they were playing. Energy to me is still a team that is very, very competitive, but they have to win those matches. And if you keep missing out on top 4, I don't know what to tell you. It's problematic. I do have Energy knocking down a peg. Hopefully they use this motivation. I do expect them to be still extremely competitive come the World Championship. I would not be surprised if Energy finds themselves in a top 2. Vitality moving up 1. Notice how some similar trends are here. These two could be paired. These two could be paired. If I could have tied for 4th, I'd have Vitality and Energy there. I think Vitality gets the nod because what I saw this weekend, they went to Game 7 in their loss against GK. They went to Game 7 in their loss against Falcons. Many deem Falcons as one of the best teams in the world right now. I am one of them. I think Falcons, without a doubt, should be top 2. A little bit of a spoiler. But Vitality has been this hit and miss. They have looked lackluster for a lot of people. 4 days of competition. Vitality swept Space Station. They swept Twisted Minds. They 4-2'd Energy. They went to Game 7 against the second place team in GK, and they went to Game 7 against Falcons. And they lost because a counterattack and Exotic tried to demo a player and save Monkey Moon in a 1v2. Unfortunately, it left to an own goal. But we're seconds away from going to OT, and then we maybe have a different story if Monkey Moon saves that. I don't think this is just a one-off thing. I don't think they looked poor in Raleigh. Vitality is trending in the direction that I think we all expected or set expectations of earlier on in the season. And they are, I think, gearing up to be a very dangerous threat. Number 3, and I know some people have Vitality a little bit higher than this team, but I am choosing to believe in Dignitas. Dignitas has been extremely consistent. Vitality is trending in a good direction, while Dignitas had one off event. Quarterfinal, they lost to the second place team. Jack had probably one of the worst series that I've seen from him in a long time, and he is a very key member of making sure, not to the degree of like Oli and how I talk about how important it is for GK, but his impact is definitely noticed when he's playing on. When Jack is doing his thing, the team is obviously better. He facilitates like nobody's business. He challenges like nobody's business. Like Jack is a very critical member of that team. But I think they had an off day. I still rate Dignitas very highly. I don't think one event is enough to justify that they are atrocious, that they're terrible, that they should drop down, this and that. I think Dignitas has been playing pretty dang well. They've been playing consistent ball, and I reward that, while I do have them bumping down a little bit. Ultimately, I'm not going to let one quarterfinal be the reason why that they drop significant amounts. I think Vitality and Dignitas is an interesting conversation. It's been my conversation probably this whole season. Can Dignitas continue to play consistently? And is Vitality going to get back to form? Because I've seen their offense. I see what they can do. We know they're capable. So Dignitas holds on to the spot just barely, just due to the longevity of how well Dignitas has been playing. And I'm not going to let one event be the reason why Vitality is better. It's too much recency bias for me. Up next, and these ones are pretty predictable, if you guys know. Falcons, number 2 in the world. Arguments for number 1. K-Corp at number 1. Can they, and this is the conversation, I know Falcons is going to give it everything. I know Falcons, when they come to an event, is going to look like Falcons. They're going to be consistent. They're going to be aggressive. And even though Falcons did start a little bit slow, I think Falcons in their first series against GK was a little bit sluggish, a little bit slow, a little bit off. I know that they have the consistency in them. To me, Falcons is what you epitomize. You try to play as consistently as Falcons do. Every single event, you want to have the same level of play, the same level of offense. And even though I think Killers did underperform at times, he still eventually ended up showing. Same with TRK. Same with Rawas. It's just K-Corp when they're playing their style. When they're playing confident. Even with Drawley having some off moments. Even with a Tau having some off moments. And the touches not being as clean. Vatira is pretty damn good. But like across the board, when K-Corp plays their game, they are, and it's not even close, the best team in the world. Maybe a bit of complacency because they won literally everything. And it is harder to kind of get back into that mentality of like, okay, we got to play catch up. You add the pressures, you add the, hey, we're not just immediately locked in right away. I think K-Corp is going to hit their stride, and they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. I would not be surprised if this is your top 4 at Worlds. I would not be surprised if you play upset on one of them. I would not be surprised if you play upset on one of them. If these are your top 8 in a bracket, like I look at that as a quarterfinal and I go, dang, that's some dang good competition. That is honestly, zero shock, zero surprise in what we see out of the World Championship. But I also know that upsets happen. EU knocking out EU a lot. So you either lose to the second best team, in my opinion, in the world, or you win. Unless it's against your own region. Europe, still the best. No surprises. I don't think anybody is shocked by that. Yeah, Falcons won against Vitality. That's right. That's why I have them number 2. So, yeah, those are my rankings. K-Corp, Falcons, Dig, Vitality, Energy, GK, Ultimates, Twisted Minds, Furious Secret, and Space Station as your honorable mention. I do think there could be some adjustments and stuff, but I do think the Vitality Energy is very, very close. It's just Vitality has been beating Energy convincingly every time. And then Ultimates, Twisted Minds, you could probably make close as well. So, that's what I got. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you guys enjoy the content, like, subscribe, notifications, hit up the socials, join the Discord. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.